That was a long hike from there to here. 9 trillion. 7 billion. 5 million. 4 3 thousand. 1 choices. From when I was born till here. Give or take a few other trillion. To live or to die? To be or not to be, that's the question. This or this. To look at the endless parade of dirty dishes in congealing fat are up and out the window at the sky high. The year is 1977. The country is still divided. Probably the division is still the same, but the scab of civility was on us all then, a little bit. And I, in my house, my beautiful house in the river, 1977. Giggle or weep? Where is it all propelling us to? Who cares? Who knows? Who knows? Who cares where the road is going? Speed, speed up and going along and go and going and going and gone. And what else can we do? Born flesh and thought in a perfectly fascinating universe, speeding up to some unknown destination. Born flesh and thought, clinging to whatever solid we can cling to against the long flight to death. No, 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 we won't go. No, no, we won't go. But go we go. And do we do. Looking back on it all, from where I sit in 1977 spring, sprung up from Mommy's loins and Daddy's sperm, I can't see much difference between now and any other time. There's always a bunch of big uns sitting around the pot, doling out the goodies to a bunch of hangers-on. And way off, there's me, looking at the ground, throwing earth up in the air, trying to make sense out of it all, and forgetting to eat, and watching the eagles fly by, leaving the gold behind, because it is too heavy to carry and care for in my trek up the mountain to visit the gods. So what then? Weep at the mounds of flesh buried in nameless graves? Weep at the song and loss of the song in my mouth? Weep at the tears of watching women killed one way or another? Or giggle? Giggle at us all, caught in the spider's web. Giggle at us all, one foot in front of the other, pushed, plummeting through Maine, through the century, through life, reeling up our tape. Enough, I shout. But the reel goes through the machine, grinding up time, and the gas bubbles out of the bog. Giggle or weep? I choose giggle, me and Mark Twain, marking time with laughter. But where does that get us? Me giggle? I mean, do I go east and sit watching the earth turn toward the sun again, praying that it will continue? Or do I go south to parties and games and swimming and nakedness and oh, or do I go north? North. Do I go north? North to the cold, invigorating. Do it if you can, kind of, get it through the... Or to go west and sit huddled with others of my kind, watching the earth turn away from the sun, revealing the enormity of where I am. When I get freedom, what will I do? When I get freedom, who will I be? Will I be master and own lots of slaves? Or will I flounder and end in the gutter? Oh, when I get freedom, who will I be? Will I dare to try out a new way, one that makes equals of us all? When I get freedom, who will I be?
The only place I know how to start is with me and my breath, quieting my mind.
Me and my breath, quieting my little word mind. I am so much bigger than my little word mind that tries to tell me it is all of me when I know I am enormous with cells and colonies of bacteria. I am bigger than my words and my way. Breath into sound. Ah, E, I. Oh, 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 oh. Movement with the intent to learn. I intend to move my hands from here and cover my eyes, exploring every bit of space I can that my hands and arms can move in to get there. Well, enough of that. Background.
A bit of background, so you can understand what comes next.
Background. 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 Born in the Depression, World War II, food stamps, gas rationing, blackout curtains, no sugar, no ketchup, no ketchup, no ketchup, no ketchup, no ketchup, 6 public schools in 12 years, then being ripped from the ideal place and moved off to a little town in southern Indiana with farmers at puberty, moved from aunts and uncles and cousins and holidays into the isolation of just us, mom, dad, sisters, brother. And all of the things I had grown up thinking no longer fit with the world I was living in. Growing up in Indiana, I knew who I could be: teacher, nurse, secretary, wife. And then there was high school, college, debate, contest, yearbook editor, debate teams, the newspaper, theater, and off into the wide world of teaching, and more theater, and more coaching, and more, and building a whole library by myself, and then off to Northland College, dean of women, assistant professor, an apartment of my own, mothering Alyssa. Faculty meetings, young Turk, feeling her oats. Lesson learned. Female young Turks are treated differently from male young Turks. And all of the things I had grown up thinking no longer fit in the world I was living in. So I took my sabbatical and went to New York City to find out what life was all about. Assistant director, Theater 66. But I could not get up and leave my hotel room in a small, dirty Washington Square hotel, going out once a day for food, and befriended by 3 ladies of the night. But then, bringing my 6-year-old Alyssa and on to another hotel and becoming instructor of English at the College of Insurance, editor of the Journal of editor of the Psychological Association's Journal of Social Issues, and some bigwig in group relations ongoing workshop. Be-ins, happenings, street living, singing, brightness, sit-ins, 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 and soldiers killing students at Kent State. On a bright, sunny day. The birthing of Zoe, war and flowers and ideas and ideas and ideas and revelations and 10,000 paths to choose from, and me and Alan and Zoe and Alyssa holding hands, clinging together while the wind wild blue, and the wonder and hope of making a new, more equal society, pledged to peace and harmony and unity and exploration. And all of the things that I knew didn't jibe up with the world I was living in.
And of that is the raw ingredients churned up. And the question is, how do I find my way through the chaos? The forces pushing me this way and that. Ideas and relentless temptation. How do I make decisions when nothing makes any sense? How do I make a map when I am lost in the wilderness?
She didn't believe in anything. In anything. In anything. In anything. At all.
We moved up the East Coast as far as we could and lived there 10 years. Winter and summer, cold, no running water, composting toilet, little money, learning everything I could about the earth that I was part of. Standing in the Maine woods, snow to my knees, huge old black, brown, green conifers putting me in my place, telling me no free ride. Babe, you are one element in a mesh of trillions, each equally important.
And on another occasion, after we'd been here for a while, we were out in the woods. Chopping down our winter trees, and we'd pack them in our the wood in our blue Chevy, and Alan would drive it off home and unload it and come back for me, and there I was, Alan driving off, and no one for miles around. But I had my warm coat, I had a knife in my pocket, I had matches, and I knew I could survive with my axe. And I knew that all the digging and all the shoveling and all the packing and picking and cutting didn't make me less of a lady. In fact, it made me a queen.
That is what I trusted, the Earth-Sun system. Too complex for me to know, and me a part of it.
And that is what I trusted.
I trust the earth under my feet, rock and stone under my feet. And
I trust you too. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. I trust the earth. I am a part of an enormous system, the sun and the earth and the solar system. And I'm a biological. That just means that I move a little faster than my cousins, the rocks. And if I want this system to continue, and if I want a place in this system, then I have to pay my dues. And my dues are to make more soil than was here when I came. And I have. In every one of my gardens, I've made feet of soil. I mean, really, you can tell. And I've just discovered a new thing that's wonderful. Well, I mean, it's 3 years in the making now. In my city apartment-like place, compost through the winter in my flower pots. I put my garbage in, cover it with coffee grounds, and I let it sit. Well, that was all very well, but last winter, I ran out of flower pots. And so I got a big blue bin with a lid, and I dumped all the flower pots in their rotting compost in there. And then I got 200 new members of my family from Jimmy's Worm Farm.
And I trust the truth of poetry, the ever-changing, chaotic images of painting, and the stern patterning of music. So I decided to become a painter, a poet, and a musician.
And I decided to put them all together into one object. The only problem was, what was I going to wear? What was I going to wear? Should I be the long-distance hiker? You can tell it by her eyes. She's hiking the trail from Georgia to Maine, from Georgia to Maine, from Georgia to Maine. She doesn't know if she'll do it again, but right now she's the long distance. Or should I be Her Majesty, the Queen? It really would be better, dear, if you did things my way. You'd be much more happy. The perfect dress. It would be long, swirl above my feet, a song. The perfect dress to make a perfect me. Or should I be Miss Sufficiency, so fanciful, her shimmy shirt and pants full. She can do anything. She can nurse the baby, write the contract, dig the garden, and keep her husband happy in bed. Truck driving Lou, truck driving Lou, truck driving Lou, she'll see you through. Down twisty turns, up mountain roads. If you need to get there, trust truck driving Lou. Images.
I choose my clothes to match my mood and the needs of the day.
I choose my clothes. It's the first painting I make of the day. What do I wear? Images. When I started to think about doing this piece a year ago, I thought I was totally crazy because I hadn't done anything in live theater for a very long time. But I got compelled because I wanted to see if I could really figure out how to break the proscenium arch. It's one of those big battles that was in theater when I was back in school. I wanted to see if I could really make it feel like you and I were sitting in my living room having a conversation. And of course I failed. What you're seeing is a role. It's the role of Barbara, who I want to be. Images. Being a painter. Seeing countless landscapes. Seeing countless nudes. Seeing countless faces, portraits. Always different and always the same. And so when I started painting, I did lots of those, but I'd like to show them to you. Is that where we are? Are we there? I want to show you what I was doing then and what I was showing and what I'm doing now, so you can see that there's always this variation, but always countless things of the same. It's kind of like, you know, there's a molecule in the wave that comes crashing up the beach. That molecule always stays in the same wave. And it comes up, you know, you see it. And it comes up and it goes clear out and then it comes back. And I want to share with you that and how I dealt with images that are always different and yet they're contained. And because they're contained, you can experiment with them. Well, they're backwards, so let me just do them backwards? No.
Never get what you want in this life.
Okay, this is a series that I did a lot of. They're the lip poems, and there's one at the Tides Institute that was in the 70s show. And here's another. Do you notice there's always a horizon line? Always the same and very, very different. And I explored, give me that one. And I was exploring, as I was exploring this and many other series, but I chose these to show you. I was also doing something else. I was looking at what it was like to be contained by corners. I was looking at how the lines went across. And even in these paintings, you can see a kind of a structure. And then this is what I'm doing now. Oh, okay. These are the very newest ones. And I only brought them because I wanted to show you them. And because I've been changing from the triangle a little. But still faces, exploring paint in different ways. And this is a series that I really love. Exploring how water and color dry. And I brought this one along because I did it very early on. There are about 60 of them, but I love them. They're called The Six-Armed Lady and Exploration in Colors of Black because there's very much difference. But notice how her arms are always touching the edges. Here, I can give you all of these. And while I was doing all of this, at one end of the studio, long table, Alan was doing this.
Oh, so I've been hello. I've been fascinated with faces, and I had a show at the Rose Garden, and Al said, they're all facing the same way. So I woke up, and this one's not really. Every once in a while I draw things that I really don't know why, and kind of they're, to me, ugly, but interesting, more than the pretty ones. In a sense, and I can never reproduce the ugly ones. The ugly ones seem to be like a dream that comes. And let's stay there. They look. That one. That's the current series. Thank you.
We had lots of fun in that studio. Now we have separate studios right across the hall from each other. But it was really fun to be there. And then while we were doing all of that, we were also playing music. In New York City, before we left, there was a party underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. And when I got there, the host handed me this. I'd never played music before, you know, piano lessons that I hated, but I never played music before. But everyone else was playing music. And I played. And he recorded it. And I couldn't tell my sound from anyone else's. And so I've been playing ever since.
Music is controlled sound patterns interspersed with silences.
And when we got here, Suterine's brother, that's from our school, was making and selling these bamboo flutes. This cost $5. And that was an awful lot of money to me at that time. I think this one may be the only one left. Breaths into sound. And while we were doing all of that, I was making some songs. Lots of little ditty songs. I called them kitchen songs. Sitting by the river on a Sunday. Morning still, but one I really liked. One fine day, your kid'll come home from school and say, "Ma, I did something bad." When the teacher asked if you and Dad did A and B and C and D and all the way to Z, I said, yes. Well, what do you do but you hug your kid and you hope for the very best. But one dark night they'll come bashing in your door and they'll drag you out of bed, knocking you on the head, singing,
In the land of the brave and the home of the free.
they'll come and get you 'cause you didn't watch out. But I wasn't always writing songs like that. I was interested in sound and how it worked together. Sound, and I come to the understanding that sound was like a pattern of noise and silence, agitated molecules and less agitated molecules. Let me show you. Yes. Chris, would you shut out the lights? And let's see if I can work this. Here's a pattern. It's not working. Okay, pattern. Tree. Leaves. Fluttering. Matching pattern to darkness, light to darkness, pattern to sound. And I did a lot of these, huge things. And thank you, Chris. Can you turn the lights back up? I did a lot of these and a lot of visual scores like this. This is a score for a piece called I Count. And I'm going to ask if you will do the piece with me right now. And I'll show you what I mean. You have a program, and the program makes some noise. So, this is the way it works. We have 8 counts of silence and 8 counts of sound. And so I'll count it out. We'll do it 3 times. And I'll count it out. 8 counts of silence. And then we'll do 8 counts of sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make any kind of sound you want. And 8 counts of silence. And 8 counts of sound. Thank you. Thank you. I always like doing that piece. But that's not what I'd like to hear. Because no one counts to 8 the same way. And certainly not the same way twice. And so what I would like to have you help me with here is you count to 8, your count, and then start making noise for a count of your count of 8. And then your count of silence. And again, your count of 8. And what it will sound like is this. Remember rain coming? There's this small, and it gets bigger, and then it fades out. And I'm going to turn my back and do my count while you do your count. And feel free to make any other kind of noises you like stomping your feet. Okay, shall we begin? Thank you. That was a world premiere. Yes. Yes. And then there are words.
Words
Poetry.
are contracts, small agreements we make with each other. We all agree that when we add the letter M and the sound M, and the letter E and the sound E, when we add them together, we get me. And that's the beginning of poetry.
Words are the most complex contract that we people make with each other. We all agree on what certain words say and mean. And not only do we agree now, we agree for long terms and many, many years. Think back to the singer-songwriters that told the tale of Ulysses, and some of us are still reading that. Think of Shakespeare. The language is a little different, but we read it. It's a contract between all of us that certain words have certain symbols and certain sounds, and we all agree. And it is as valid a test of truth as is the scientific method, in which someone gets an idea and says, oh, I've got to test that. And they go out and they test it and they say, hey, look at that, I think it works. And they then go out and say, friend, come and test this out. And the friends all test it and they say, yes, truth. It's a scientific method, it's wonderful and very fast, but it doesn't do everything. And no scientific experiment that I know, and Alan will argue with me later, I think perhaps, but no scientific method, experiment that I know is nearly as complex as King Lear.
Why have I done this? Why bother self-indulgent, narcissistic?
Why have I done this? I mean, spend 50 years painting, playing music. Why have I done this? You know? Narcissistic, yes. I could have been a teacher. A dancer. A doctor. I could have been a mathematician. I could have been a politician and done some good in this world. So why have I bothered? I couldn't do anything else. Maybe. Or everyone should have an art form because it makes them bigger and better people and it's fun. Or I haven't the foggiest idea why I did this. I only know that I did. And I never know what I'm doing. I only just keep going. Or I am safer because my senses are honed by dealing with images, by dealing with sound, and by dealing with words, and I know where dangers come from. Or I'm crazy. The reason I like to give is because I'm learning something I didn't know before, and it all makes a little more sense. But it wasn't always this easy. There we were in our main house, and it was cold, and we had 2 children, and I was trying to set up a painting studio with everything that that meant. I needed a typewriter and keeping of papers and everything that that meant, and all the musical instruments in the same space with a very limited. It's like this. It's like this. Imagine that you were trying to set up a restaurant. No, yes, a restaurant. A restaurant that's purpose was to serve authentic Chinese food with everything that that means, all the pots and pans and all the ingredients and everything and all the mindset in the same place with the same people, that you are setting up an authentic Mexican restaurant with all of the pans and all of the food and all of the ingredients and all of the mindset, and at the same time you are trying to set up the all-American diner. Well, or an architect. Imagine you had an architect office, and in the same office, with the same people, you were designing the house in the woods that was self-sufficient, cost no money, could be owner-made and owner-built. And at the same time, with the same mindset and the same people, you were designing the ceiling of the Notre Dame. And at the same time, you were building a 7,000-unit apartment hospital complex. Crazy. And into all of this came the invasion of Alan. Once, Alan, Alyssa, and Zoe and I, the kids went into a sporting goods store with the intent to buy two pair of snowshoes or 2 pair of cross-country skis. We hadn't made up our mind when we went in, and we went in, and for an hour in front of the clerk, while the children ran hither-skither around by them, we argued about whether we would buy 2 pair of cross-country skis or 2 pair of snowshoes. We came out with nothing. And another time, Alan got some money from an aunt of his, and he bought a Klepper folding kayak. And it came bundled, in bags. And he sat and read the instructions. And I tried to put it together, and I sat and read and finally, it took us an afternoon. We got the thing together, and we explored the lakes and rivers of Maine. It was a double kayak. And so at the beginning, the first day, Alan sat in the back, guiding us. And I sat in the front, the power. And the next day, I sat in the back, guiding where we were going, and Alan sat in the front, the power. Alan. Yes, that was to have had a scarf dropped after each of those little stories. But it didn't happen. So I'm going to drop them right now, before I put on this charming garment from then even, very far ago, very long. Alan. Everyone was in black and white face, except you. You were in orange and red face, like Pan without a flute. You be sugar, I be salt. You be tree covered by me. I'll be snow, you be tree, you be ground sitting under me. You be bird flying high, and I'll be summer's sunset sky. You be river, I be bank. You be wind, I be snow. You be sugar, we be sugar. We be sugar, we be salt, we be tree, we be bird, we be snow, we be mate, we be mate. We be sun, we be earth, we be me, we be you. We be sunset, shining high, we be mate. We be made. No, I shouldn't love you like I do. No, I shouldn't love you like I do. And yet, when I see you across the room, my whole body starts right in, trembling, and oh no, I shouldn't love you like I do. And yet, when I look into your eyes, green and golden, shining through, I see a thing so true, it will last our whole life through. I like to be here with you, driving along down white country roads, snow coming down, white all around, no track before us, our track behind. I like to be here with you, driving alone down white country roads. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late to say you're sorry now. I've lived with you a while. I know what you do. I know all your meanness to me. And then you say you'll never do it again. Oh, I've lived with you, and I've listened to your cares. And each time I do, you go out and do it again. Oh no, it's too late to say you're sorry now. Too late, I've got my own life to live. It's too late to say you're sorry now. Too late to say you're sorry. Spring seems to be here again. Spring seems to be here again. Winter has gone once again. Never thought I'd make it. Never thought I'd see it to the end. Back in the darkening, when the sun was gone, and the snow was creeping in, and the birds were south, and you and me was arguing, and the kids had lice. Never thought I'd see it. Never thought I'd make it to the end. But spring seems to be here again. Winterwood it lasted, Sun, it is light. Snow, it has crept away. And you and me don't fight. And winter has gone once again. Never thought I'd make it. Never thought I'd see it to the end. But I love you now, and I love you then, and I love you in the future. The sun steams hot, and the moon turns frit, and the waves spew and sputter, and the mountains erupt, and the seas retreat, and the sands split and scour, and the mind god thinks, and the wild fools slink, and the earth splits asunder. But I love you now, and I love you then, and I love you in the future. Waking up in the morning warm, kissing lips that I know is my own. Old lovers are best. Laughing at jokes from years on back, fighting to the death and making up. Old lovers are best, because old lovin' is best. I found out ways of living with you, loving the days and the nights too. You've become what's bright in my life. I love the days and the nights too. Working anarchy.
Am I supposed to say something?
Working anarchy? And how about the on my studio walls?
Oh, that one. On my studio wall is a painting of 3 women, old, middle, young, and the saying, we have to teach each other our skills. If I want Alan to respect me, and if I want to respect Alan, we have to teach each other our skills. Missed that.
Working anarchy?
I don't have any working energy.
Yes, you
We
do.
already sing. Spring seems to be here again.
Working anarchy is the part where when everybody does exactly what they want to do with the knowledge of what it takes to keep the system going. And they do it exactly at their own time, but always with the whole picture in mind.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Okay.
I have found out ways of living with you, loving the days and the nights too. You've become what's bright in my life. I love the days and the nights too. But how did your hair turn so white? While we laughed and watched the children grow. Rain fell, tangled in our eyes. How did your hair turn so white? How did your hair turn so white? While we sang
and
the things we loved. Sun, hot, twisted in our mouths.
while we talk.
How did your hair turn so white? Conversation. conversation. So that's all very well and good. Well, what do I do with you? I trust each of you individually with my life. But I don't trust us at all. Remember Joan of Arc? She saved her country, and they burned her at the stake. Remember the Salem witch trials, when they came and they took our neighbor's wife who had fed our children cookies, and we didn't, wouldn't. No. I do not trust us at all. And what do you do? How do you do? How? Why? How can you? What would? How would? And what do you do to turn the eyes into we? So, I went off and talked to Kenny Dwelly's father, who was a minister. And I said to him, you know, it's not like there are evil people. It's just that we've organized ourselves wrong. And he looked at me as if I was crazy. Did I do something wrong?
I'm just hitting the little thing, whatever that was doing.
Oh, okay, I probably did it. Is that better? Ah. Well, I've got an itch. It won't let me go. I've got some things I've just got to know. I've asked all the good folk I know to ask, but I don't understand the language the answers are in. So I joined the Sam Eli Land Trust, one of the first ones in Washington County after the 1970 inrush, and I did all sorts of alternative things like food co-ops and watch, and there was Sunspot, USA. And we're here to stay. And if you don't see us, why then go away for Sunspot, USA. And I learned out of all of these that the kind of contracts I like to see between people are contracts in which all parties, human and not, make agreements that benefit everyone as far into the future as we can see. And then there was our school. Our school. Loverly, loverly, we love our school. Building block castles high as the sky, making dams. There are still beans in the bathroom from the bean war. Loverly, loverly, we love our school. And I learned that I did not want to teach anything to anyone. And that is why this is a sharing and not a teaching. And then we couldn't survive up here. And so we had to go back to grandparents and, you know, places where you can get work and things like that. And we went to the city and we had art openings and we did events and we played music on the radio on WXPN and we did all sorts of things. And I discovered that I am not for sale. And so I retreated to my studio. Play Theater 1.
I retreated to my studio, but in 1996, 7, and 8, Play Theater was born. We went to lots of art openings and readings and knew all these people who were bursting with interesting things to do. And I got the idea of Play Theater. We could use the form and excitements of theater productions with ordinary people being the actors presenters. So I invited 10 to 20 people to come to be part of the event. And I put a theatrical structure around the evening. Sometimes there were 10 folk, sometimes there were 2. And I set people around in chairs every which way. I made a big net of Christmas lights and oriented it like the Milky Way. And we all had a lot of fun.
And I learned I did not want to be an impresario, but I also learned that people really love to share what they love the most with other people if it's safe.
So we had
Play Theater 2.
So for some reason I couldn't name, I redid Play Theater, but we didn't have as wide a group of folks who wanted to share. And so I set up evenings with different themes and more of me and Alan. It wasn't nearly as successful, but folks did have fun. I set up a big frame that John and I made with fallen branches from the backyard and strung it with woof and wharf and everybody got balls of yarn and stood on either side of it and did a big active weaving. That was a lot of fun. And then there was the tottering town made from everyone's iPhone boxes and each glued together with secret wishes inside, sitting on top a set of springs that used to be a wine rack.
And I learned that I did not want to be an impresario. But I also learned that people really love creating things together in a group when it's safe. And so here comes your program. In the center of your program is a sticky. And you should have gotten a pencil at the door. And I would like you to write in anything or anything else you'd like to do on these stickies. And at the end of the evening, in the hallway, is a big book. I want you to put your answers in the "Why am I here" book. And your answers to that question will go with the answers from next week's performance in North Conway and for the performance later in Madison, Wisconsin, and back in Philadelphia. Everyone's answer, you can put it anywhere you want in the book, and we will have a book of "Why am I here?" So if you would do that.
And now, and now comes the hard part.
Now comes the hard part.
Now comes the
really
hard part.
It really does. It's the really hard part.
Hard.
The hard part. The hard part.
The climax.
The
pulling
place
it
that you have to answer the questions.
together in a
How
cohesive
does all of this
statement.
make any sense?
What have I learned
What have I learned? What
from
have I learned? What have I
looking
learned? What
at
have I learned?
things through
Through
the sieve of
sieve
images,
of
through
poetry. Through the sieve.
the sieve of words,
Through. What have I
Through.
learned?
through the sound patterns in space. I'll tell you what I think we are.
I will. I'll tell you exactly where I think we are. See this piece of glitter? Okay. That piece of glitter is what we know. The entire things that we human beings know. And everything around it is what we don't know. And see it disappear. And this piece of glitter is our solar system. And what we know. We are so young as a species. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. But we have done something totally amazing. We have done something that no other species has ever done. We have, and in a deliberately and in a very short period of time, we have covered the earth with a geological layer. Plastic. Why? I don't know. But we have done it. And now do we come to Play Theater 3?
Play Theater 3.
Is that where we are?
Now, there is us, me sitting here, rocking, and you, and the script. I have rewritten this section.
Okay,
Those
thank
are
you.
your lines.
Thank
Yes,
you,
yes,
it's my
wrong
line.
line.
Play
Wrong
Theater
cue.
3.
Start back.
Play Theater 3. All right. In the 11 or so performances of this, I have rewritten the ending from this point on 11 times. And I thought I got it. Back in June, I said, got it, got it, got it. And then last week, Sarah said, the ending's too long, you've got to cut it. And I heard, and it's mushy. And Helen said, and cut out all that science stuff we already know. But she said it much sweeter than that. And so I've been rewriting the ending ever since. And this is the I ending. Oh, and I discovered a very interesting thing. I discovered that in all of those other endings, and in all of those other performances, everything up until now had been, I did this, I did that, I think this, we did. And then at this point, the script changed from first person singular to third person you and we, with a slight tinge of disdain. We should have, you should have done, that Alan always cringed at. And so now we come to the I ending. This is the I ending. Back then, I'd written a lot of songs and done a lot of things. And I was invited to the Beast Feast. So people were playing their guitars and having a wonderful time, eating and drinking and doing all the... And I took my auto harp. And I got there, and like the ancient mariner, I thrusted at people saying, here, play this. Play this. And so the question is, how did I get from there to here? I'm sure there are 1,000 answers bigger than however the room, but the one I like the best is that every day I practiced the stern disciplines of painting, of music, and of poetry. Looking at the ever-changing images within a strict matrix, listening to the molecules agitated in space with silences or almost on either side, highly articulated molecules. I love Bach. And being totally amazed at this marvelous contract we have made with each other to understand words from before and now. And what about this giggle or weep? I mean, why should you stick around? It's really not very pleasant here, and while if it's pleasant here, it could get very unpleasant. Why giggle? I'll tell you what I think giggle is. Giggle is standing up as straight as you can, taking and dealing with everything that gets thrown at you as best you can, and slinging back a little bit too. Standing above the tree line, on the mountaintop, with the wind blowing in your hair. Thank you, Alan, for climbing mountains with me. And the thing I'd like to see happen. Take your lives just as they are, patterned just as they are, and change nothing but add a little teeny bit of sugar like to spice the tea. Gatherings, comings together in small groups to have silence so we can listen to what each other think. Gathering to make perfectly ridiculous, useless objects and watch them decay in space. Comings, where we each feel so free, we share, so safe we share the things we are most passionate about. I would sing to the great lady, chants, 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 who brought us here to this beautiful place, who has created the photon, who created the atom, the molecule, the cell, and all the complexities. I would sing to the great lady, chants, who has brought us through to this beautiful place, who has given us life in which to radiate, who has given us death to ease our pain, who has given us eternity by breaking down our skin and bones to be born again in other forms. Yes, I would pray to the great Lady Chance, who has brought us through to this beautiful place. And that's what I know. Take from that whatever you can. And this is the end. The end. The end, the end, the end, the end. This is the end of this startling drama. This is the end, the end, the end, the end. Go! Go, 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 go. Go home. Go home and live your own lives. We've got work to do, and I'll wait for an invitation to a Cummings. That'll be the day. Ha ha!